Linux. So we're still working out some of the live streaming bugs here, and I'm kind of in a weird spot right here. I got this computer sitting at this hard diagonal as I try and figure out the best place to put things. I'm going to test this from the newer computer setting. So I did a few adjustments here, and hopefully that will take care of everything. And I just kind of changed my streaming out to 720p, and everything so far is telling me it looks good. I'm also, I hope, appropriately using the events status. That is something that I was trying to do the other night, and I could not quite get that there. I just had to look at it a little bit longer. So I'm just going to come over here and see on a system that's not logged into my channel, see what we look like. All right, so it does say we are streaming live, so hopefully we are. And so what we're going to be talking about today is backups. So let's keep an eye on things there. Health looks good. Okay, so we're going to close that out. All right, so I wanted to talk today about backups. As you let me know if the sound is good. I have a nice microphone stand for my microphone, but I've just found recently that when I have it up there, if I move my head to one side or the other, then the audio cuts in, cuts out a little bit. But if I just kind of have it sitting right down here in a facing upward angle, I seem to get a lot better, more consistent audio. So let me know if that is indeed what you're finding as well. And let me see. So I am I'm monitoring the live chat comments, I hope. I'm also on an IRC chat room at hash switched to Linux. The S, the T, and the L are all capitalized. So the reason I wanted to talk a little bit about backups and things like that today actually has to do with I was following just a little bit of the article from the GitLab. So apparently what happened with this GitLab issue is they lost quite a bit of data. Like 6 hours of data on a huge project is a lot when you have a lot of things going back and forth. And apparently what I had heard had happened is a developer who was a little tired accidentally went in to delete a wrong directory there. And by the time he had recognized that it was the wrong directory, some data was lost, and the group happened to have 5 different ways of backing up data, and all of their backup data have failed. And so they basically lost a lot of information. Now, as of I think yesterday evening, I think, or maybe it was yesterday morning, I forget, then the company had said, yeah, they were able to get some information going right there. I'm just double checking that, okay? They were making sure that things were working right there, and they were able to restore everything except they lost stuff within a 6-hour window. So this is a major company, basically like a GitHub competitor, and a fork of it, if you will, and they lost a lot of information, and that's unfortunate. But it brings up some other issues, and some of the other issues that it brings up is how are we doing as individual people with what we're doing in our own lives? Because a business really, one of the greatest lessons I learned from my high school chemistry teacher was we are only as safe as the least safe person in the lab, which, and you're in a high school chemistry lab with dangerous chemicals all over the place, you are only as safe as the least safe person. And as I was teaching organic chemistry, I had this one student that would never fail to blow something up. And I remember this one time, we're in the lab, all the safety stuff's going, which is good. And all of a sudden, this thermometer just goes shooting across the room. I'm like, what is going on? Of course, it hits the wall, shatters into a bajillion pieces. Oh, I'm like, what's going on here? And, this guy never failed to blow something up in the lab. And, if somebody wasn't, if you're thinking of it, if you're like, oh, well, my experiment's not doing anything, so I'm going to take off my glasses for a second, and you get thunk in the eye by a thermometer, you're going to have a very bad day. So we are only as safe as the least safe person. And a lot of times with businesses, we are as safe as the least safe person as far as securing what we have. And so this really starts with us personally. We as people have to work on trying to figure out our own strategies. And I'm not as good at this as I would like to be. I think I might know a little bit more than your average person. And another factor is I'm a web developer, and I deal with hacked websites, I deal with data loss on websites, I deal with servers that sometimes go crazy. And right now I'm working with a group, and we're executing some backup and restoration strategies across various different websites out there. And so it's been on my mind. And then when I encountered this article from GitLabs here that basically they had lost some data, and now they said, we got everything. The code locker lost 6 hours of data. That's about 707 users is what they're saying they lost. So 4,613 regular projects, 74 forks, 350 imports are lost, 5,037 projects in total. That's quite a bit. Now, the good news and what a lot of people praise them for is they came out right away without making any excuses and said, hey, we goofed. And that was probably the best thing that the company could have done at that point in time. So sometimes we deal with data loss for those types of reasons. Sometimes the data loss is equipment failure. There are times, like, for example, like I have my Windows 7 computer back here. I bought it in 2010. And I haven't gone on there lately to look at how many, quote, on-time hours does the hard drive have. There was a time I'd leave the computer on all the time. I'm pretty much in the habit now of shutting the thing off. But eventually the mechanical hard drive in that is going to fail. And when that fails, I could either attempt to restore Windows 7 to that computer, or I could throw Linux on the thing with a new hard drive. I have to decide at that point in time, what am I going to do? So with a Windows computer, if I have to reboot and reload a Windows computer, it generally takes me about a day or so to get all the software installed. And that's one of the reasons I love Linux so much better, is to get a new computer up and running, it takes not more than an hour. Get everything installed and then go through the repositories, grab the things that you need. The only amount of time I've ever spent installing software on Linux was having to use Wine and install something, from Windows, and then fighting with Wine. So, there are mechanical and equipment failures can occur. We had a case in the video game that I am a sysadmin for. We had a case where the server is an AWS server. The server hiccuped. Fortunately, we had all of our auto-scaling groups set in place, and the server hiccuped. A copy of the server crashed down, and then, in our case, we had everything set up, and so we didn't lose a beat. We lost, I think, 2 or 3 very small minor edits on the system that we had deployed before before setting everything up there. Hey there, Garden Shed Tech, how are you? Yeah, okay. So basically what happened there is, we had an autoscale group, but basically in an AWS server, the autoscaling group is going to reboot up. It's going to look at how many computer instances and what's the memory issue there. Well, a server died. Our autoscaling group looked and said, there's no server running, and it spun one right back up. So our server never really went down, but we lost 2 or 3 little edits that had not been committed into a new system image. No big deal. In fact, I think I probably have them on there. I just need to change the autoscaling group to use a different image to rescale up to. And I'll talk more about that project a little bit later. We're in the middle of a big redesign there. Hello, allocated brain. I saw you just jump on there. All right, so sometimes equipment fails, sometimes our data goes, and then the saddest thing of all is sometimes we have ransomware, things that lock out our data. And so Basically, basically, we have to have a strategy. Now, let me speak for a moment to ransomware here. So with ransomware, and I just pulled up a brief little article from Trend Micro, and actually Microsoft has some nice things. They actually have some things to test out if you happen to be hit with ransomware on a Windows computer. Try out these things here before you lose all hope. They do have some ways of trying to get around it before you have to go in and do anything major here. So Microsoft will have some instructions on their site. One of the challenges with ransomware is it can infect a whole network. So what I used to do that was really bad, what was really bad is I used to have all my internal computers like, shut off all those password things because it's all an internal network. I don't want to have to deal with passwords. Well, I stopped doing that policy because of this. Because if something gets into my Windows computer and I don't have passwords across my network, that can use that weak spot on my Windows computer and spread to other systems, possibly. And I just kind of want to minimize that. And so all my internal network now, I have to, even if I'm on a computer, I just want to move something through a shared folder on my cloud server in home office, then I have to go in and enter all the passwords to do things. That'll block it'll block a ransomware software, and it will kind of prevent the system from spreading too much further. But now everything on that Windows computer could be fried. Could be. So the question is, how frequently are you doing backups? And that's kind of what we wanted to look at here. So there's a couple different ways of doing backups. You can do some cloud stuff. You can do like one of the implementations we're looking at right now with one group that manages several websites is we're looking at running a known cloud installation on a S3, on AWS S3, so we can kind of store everything because it's dirt cheap to store backups on AWS. But there's another challenge, and this was a nice article from Ars Technica, Surviving a Cloud-Based Disaster Recovery Plan. You know, this raises the question of, are we relying on the cloud too much? So there is certainly some great things that the cloud can do for us. We can take all of our information, we can take our images, of course our phones, we're used to this, just put everything up there. But realize that the backups and stuff that these big companies have, unless you're specifically paying them for a backup service, pretty much their backup service is there for them, not for you. And so if you lose information, you lose some information. I think I hear a cat that wants to say hi, but I'm not sure where she is right now. She likes to walk in the room and announce herself. She's like the queen. Kitty, kitty. Oh, it's not the queen. It's the other one. He doesn't meow much. Come on. Want to come say hi on the camera? Come on. Oh, yeah, here he is. There you go. What do you think, huh? Want to say hi? Say hi to people? Hey, people. Hey, peoples. All right. So there's the kitty. All right. So what this article was looking at is what happens when, and this is of course written about some things in rural Nevada. You know, one cable going into the valley, and what happens if that one cable goes down? What happens if that one cable is severed? What happens if, you know, if something occurs and you can't access the cloud? And what they were talking about here is a hospital situation where if the cloud goes down, they don't even know what medications to give their patients. And this is becoming a big problem in computer systems. Like if a hospital gets taken over by ransomware, the patients may not receive their medications right. And so we have to consider some type of backup and restore plan that does not completely rely on the cloud, although it's a good contingency plan. So what I do personally for personal files, you think about the various types of things that we have that are important to us. For example, I take a lot of photographs. I travel around the country. So I'll take some photos. So I have a fairly large photo collection. I have music CDs. I don't listen to a lot of music, but one thing I do have is a big sermon collection. And those I don't, some of those I bought, 5-10 years ago. And so I want to keep those around without those getting lost. Now, I think in that case, I have those things on enough little peripheral devices, I wouldn't really lose those, but it's nice to have one backup location. So I did a video about a week or so ago about how to build a NAS system, and I built a NAS system just with an open box micro tower computer. It has two 1 terabyte drives that are in a RAID 0, so it's a redundant platform. So if one drive fails, the other drive is still there. But I also have the ability to plug in an external USB drive into that, and it will make a copy here. So if I am very concerned about it, I mean, maybe you're concerned about fire in your house. Well, I could take this, make a copy of this once a month, and take it and leave it at a bank safety deposit box or at a friend's house. So I can have a redundant copy of my backup somewhere else. So that's kind of the way you can do it in a home office setting, is build yourself a NAS system, build some redundancy into the thing, but you always want to have an offline copy of your backup files. Always want the offline copy. Because if ransomware were to get through here, spread through everything, infect every computer, including my NAS drive, well, there's not a snowball's chance in wherever that it's actually going to get onto this guy here that's never plugged in, except for the very small instance that I'm actually grabbing data off of it. So this is a backup of a lot of my files. And so that's one of the things that you want to be able to do. What distro am I using? I'm using Linux Mint. So this computer, I'll stop as a brief thing here. This computer is my new build. I'm actually going to be finalizing a couple little things here. I got enough RAM to max it out. It will be running 32 gigabytes of SD3 RAM. I will actually be unveiling the whole computer, showing all the hardware, showing all the software at a later time. But for the brief preview, we're using Linux Mint, and I'm using Glass theme. I actually want to change these colors to yellow to match my switch to Linux colors. I just haven't gotten there yet. But I really like the theme. I like these transparency and these skeuomorphic type themes, and so I went with this. It's very nice. I made my menu button here my little individual logo. So this is Linux Mint, and it is, I want to say it's Linux Mint 18.1 if I remember. Where's my system information there? Linux Mint Cinnamon 18.1. We're running the 4.4 kernel. I could never get the VirtualBox working on 4.8 yet, so we have a Core i5 3570K. Right now there's 16 gigs of RAM, and I'm running this on an SSD. This thing boots up into the operating system. Actually, I never see the Linux Mint loading screen. It takes, I think, 8 seconds right now to load up. I'm running I'll unveil all the rest of the system information later, but we are running Linux Mint Cinnamon Edition. All right, so let's see. I think I was talking about the NAS drive. So let's talk about what I'm doing for websites. So on websites, what I am working on those is first, I build a lot of things on WordPress. And some things, if you are looking into building a site on WordPress, a few little tips. The first major WordPress tip is don't buy a theme from Envato. I have a few of those. I have one website of mine that just keeps getting hacked. And it's because it's running an Envato theme, and there's an out-of-date plugin that I can't update anymore. So I have to throw more money at it. In my case, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to fight it, keeping things very secure until about a week or two. I'm going to get to actually redesigning the thing for my own and dropping all of that stuff. So the biggest problem with the ThemeForce themes is they're just too big of hack targets. You have Revolution Slider, which lets backdoors in. You have Visual Composer, which lets backdoors in. And you know that you don't have a guarantee that you'll be able to update the files, and that's the challenge I'm running in right now. The theme that I purchased that I like is no longer available, and so I'm no longer getting any updates for it. And since it's been used so many times, it's become a hack target. You also want to run things like WordFence to keep your security up, ban people that are trying to hack into your site, things like that. And when you're running those, just making sure that things are always up to date and whatever. So there's several different backup plugins that I've seen, and I really don't like any of the WordPress backup plugins. I like just going right in there with either FTP or SSH or however is best to do it, and just grab all the files and then grab a manual copy of the database. That's the best way, because if I need to restore it, it's easy to restore. The problem with a lot of the backup plugins is, like, one of them, the one I use the most is the WP Back It Up. That one there, it takes a copy of all of the custom files, but you have to start by rebuilding the core WordPress first and then uploading that. And then almost all of the systems now, they're not grabbing the database in single chunks. And that's huge, because if you have to restore a database, like Backup Buddy's one, it's like you can dig through and find the database, but it downloads the database and does a backup of the database in like 25 parts. And if you have to manually reinstall that, it's going to take a long time. But if you have a single database output file for your WordPress database, you can upload that. I can get a backup of a WordPress site back online in less than an hour, unless it's over a gigabyte or so. So just keeping all those files. And then what you want to do is you want to have a backup on a cloud somewhere. You want to have a backup on a local computer, and you want to have a backup that's off of a computer system. And that off of the computer system is the thing that takes effort. But remember that anything that takes effort is going to be good. And anything that's really good for us takes a little bit of effort. So those are just kind of some thoughts on backup and restoration. And what else did I say I was going to be talking about here? I think that might be about it. Yeah, we looked at personal files. Using a NAS drive is an excellent way of doing your files for a small in-house server or a small business setting. And you can build a NAS drive. Mine is built on Open Media Center, I think. Open Media Center. So that's what I used. And there's several different solutions out there. Oh, it's Open Media Vault. I think that's it. Let me look that up real quick. And the reason I went with Open Media Vault is because I was, I'm just most used to the Debian branch, and this is the most popular open source NAS system that you can get on Debian. It also has a whole lot of plug-in capabilities. The capabilities to plug in a hard drive and plug in the hard drive and make a full backup of it to have for offline storage. You can also there is or was a system to install OneCloud or OwnCloud. I'm sorry. Last time I tried that, it actually knocked out the Apache server on the thing. So I do mean to get on there, and it is on my list of things to do in the next couple months here, is to get OwnCloud running on my internal server, and also get Colab running on an internal server, since I have some web collaboration type projects to do. But Open Media Vault, it's a very nice, easy to use platform. I ran this. What I did is I bought a Micro Tower, a little Dell computer from Best Buy that was an open box special. I think it was missing the keyboard and the mouse, and hey, I have extra keyboards and mice laying around, no problem. And actually, I was able to negotiate them down a little bit more in price. Like, I don't know. If I want to go over here and buy a new keyboard, it's kind of, I don't know. And so, I'm good at negotiations. So I talked it down a little bit more, an extra 10% off. And so I ended up buying the computer for like $170, $180. And with that computer, what I did is I'm running the Open Media Vault on a flash drive on the front of the computer. It runs the operating system. And then I disabled the CD-ROM in there, because those support two SATAs. And so I went online and I purchased 2 laptop hard drives. It does take a 3.5-inch internal drive and the CD-ROM. But I end up buying 2.5-inch drives and a port that would allow me to convert 2.5-inch drives to the same space footprint as a 3.5-inch drive, plugged in to the hard drives into there, created a RAID 0, so now I have redundant copies. So if one drive goes bad, the other drive should still be working, and then if both drives go bad, I always do keep this redundant copy like once a month. Oh, looks like I am losing some stream health. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why I'm losing stream health right now. Let's have a look. Looks like I've been losing stream health for a while. I just noticed it. Let's see, we are good there. We're not good there. Let me do a little settings tamper here and see if I can get this guy working. All right. Yeah, I'm still playing with the live streaming here. So I'm just kind of trying to get the get all the bugs worked in and out. This one here is actually concerning me a little bit because I am hardwired directly into the router. I did back down my settings quite a bit, so I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look into what's causing the issues here. I was doing pretty good streaming for quite a while. See, we fixed that. We fixed that. YouTube sucks for streaming. Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm having a good time with the streaming, but you know, at the same time, it's I'm still getting used to it. Still trying to figure it out exactly how I want to run it. And just doing a couple of streams here is actually allowing me to tweak with the settings a little bit more. I think some of the potential problem is I'm actually still running a DOC2 modem. If maybe buying a DOC3 would help out with better streaming, that might be a reason to upgrade my modem. I know Comcast has been yelling at me for a long time for that, but you know, as far as I knew, last time I did buy one at one point in time, plugged it in, because they're like, this will be so much better. I did my speed test, and it was exactly the same, so I'm not paying an extra $70 right off the gate. All right, so let's see. Let's see if there's any other general commentary. All right. Garden Shed Tech, what is your forum? If you're still on. I'm not sure if you still are or not. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like our, I know I'm short on time today. We did about a 30-minute here, and I think this might give me enough information. I want to have a look at my diagnostics. I'm still getting bad stream outputs here, and I'm not completely sure why. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wrap up this stream and see if we can get any bugs worked out of there, and I will try and use the event schedule in the future. So if you want to see any future events, then what I'm going to do is just have a look at the channel there, and I'll try and keep the events coming up to date there. And anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and give me any feedback that you have in the comments once everything is done, and then what we will do is come back with another topic another day. All right. Well, have a good one, everybody, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.